Hello guys, welcome back to Fired Up Coffee Sessions. This is episode 7, and I didn't realize that it has been 7 live sessions already. Actually 8 because I did not count the pilot episode, which is the Fired Up Life Live. And welcome back to this kapihan. No? We're just having coffee here. We're just hanging out and making our time meaningful and realizing things as we have these fired up conversations. I hope you enjoyed the session yesterday. Yesterday we had we talked about pondering, di ba? And I had my guest Arnold Santos. I hope you enjoyed that. And this time we're gonna dwell more on talking about our fears, our uncertainties, and anxieties. Now, as we all know, May 15, no, I think there will be a lifting up of the quarantine, but there will be a new normal. And even if the quarantine will be lifted, what will be our behavior? What will be our attitudes? No, so there's still that brewing fear, anxieties, and uncertainties, right? So let me know your thoughts about the question of the day. So it's about what are your greatest fears and how are you trying to overcome them? All right, so think about that because I have prepared my answers and I will show them to you later. But for the meantime, think about your own thoughts and opinions about these things. All right, as I sip my coffee. So, more and more people are coming in. Kenneth is here. Blessed morning from Dubai. Okay, Chris is saying shout out to my 3 children who are frontliners. Doc Kim, Marianne, and Jalai, thankful for their faith and courage in fighting the virus. And hi to PFO household. Yoti is saying happy fired up afternoon to all. Great. Si John naman is here. Magandang morning from Doha, Qatar. Anna is back. Great. Good afternoon. Who else is here? You can say hi and just make your presence felt. All right. So again, we go back to the question of the day. What are your greatest fears and how are you trying to overcome them? So meron tayong mga takot, not necessarily the virus is one of our fears, but in life in general, what keeps you awake at night? What keeps you worried? What are the things that are dominating your thoughts in the evening and making you sad and depressed and worried about the future? So let me know your answers and how are you dealing with them? How are you overcoming them? All right. Via is saying hi. Good afternoon to all. Good PM. Hi, Via. All right. So let me know your thoughts about the question of the day before we proceed with my thoughts about that as well. Awesome. So I chose this topic because actually I gave this talk last night to a group of SFCs from Australia, and we talked about fears, anxieties, and all these, and how we can become brave. And I thought of sharing that talk to you today in this live session. And I hope you'll like it. I hope you get something out of it. Great. So guys, all right. So this is the official title of our session. Okay. It's brave, becoming messengers of hope in a time of uncertainty. So how do we become messengers? Now, first we overcome our fears and anxieties, and by overcoming them, we also become a source of hope for people, a source of wisdom and strength for people. So the challenge these days is how do we become brave? Paano tayo maging matapang or we become courageous in the things that we are pursuing these days, despite the situation of our world in global crisis. Right. So again, what are your greatest fears and how are you trying to overcome them? Okay, unang tanong, no? What do you fear most? Ano bang kinakatakutan natin? Of course, a lot of people are afraid to contract the disease, contract the virus. People are afraid of dying. But ikaw mismo, maybe you can share, what do you fear the most? What is it that you're afraid of? What is it that when this thing is being mentioned or this thing comes to you, you suddenly feel a sense um, of fear. You know, like for me, I fear of if my children get sick. You know, I fear that if there's anything that will happen to my family, that is one of my greatest fears. Kayo, what are your greatest fears? What do you fear the most? Then, now, what are you anxious about? Yung hindi ka mapalagay, di ba? Yung ang ganda ng pagka-translate in Tagalog, no? Hindi ka mapalagay. No? You don't know where to place yourself because you are very anxious of the things that are happening. No, it's like you cannot, you're restless. You cannot have the right frame of thinking because of the anxiety that is happening. So we go through that as well in a time of uncertainty. So yun, no, dahil sa fear and our anxieties because of these things, we feel uncertain about the future. We feel that there is no the future is hazy. You know, we don't know what will happen today. You know, we try to plan out things, but we'll never know when things will crumble or if things will be okay. So this is like a point of uncertainty in our lives as well. So let me share with you some of the things that I think that would help us to become brave and to overcome our fears and anxieties. And along the way, if you have thoughts, just share them in the comments. Share them, and I'd like to really hear from you what your thoughts are. No, so meron na mga nag-share. Si Anna is saying, takot na mamatay na wala man lang nagagawa sa buhay ko para sa pamilya, para sa kapwa, para sa mundo. Gusto ko tumatak sa mga taong nakakasalamuha ko, ini-overcome ko siya by living the life I want and doing good. Serve well my family, community, or love more. Thank you, Anna, for being honest with your fears. No, yung you'll end your life without having made a difference in the lives of people. So that's your fear. Wow, it's a very noble fear. Yung fear ni Tito Chris, I fear that my frontliners might be affected. Yes, because kanina nagpa-shout out no si Tito Chris, si Brother Chris Panlilo. Sabi niya 3 of his family members are actually frontliners. So we pray for them. Kilala ko rin sila. So yes, that is my fear for you also and my fear as well. Thank you for sharing. Sabi ni Via, Kuya, I believe most of us singles are having this fear of uncertainty. Wow, pa-expound Via. Ano ba yung fear of uncertainty? I can only interpret it na uncertain kung ikakasal ka ba, will you find the right person, will you have a stable home, or a stable relationship. I might be thinking of these things right now and assuming it. Paki-expound na lang sa comments later. Thank you, Via, for sharing that. Sabi ni Mike, understand fear and embrace it. Fear exists to keep us safe. It is not inherently bad or good, but a tool we can use to make better decisions. Fear isn't designed to keep us inactive. Yes, very good. But to help us act in ways that generate the results we need and want. Embrace fear as instruction and let it inform your actions, but not control them. Yes, di ba yung siguro napanood niyo yung movie, yung cartoons, di ba? Yung may si fear, si anger. So sabi ni Mike, it's not inherently bad. It is something that can actually move us into action and that can actually become a coping mechanism to become better. So yes, thanks for that sharing, Mike. Ganda ng insights and I love it because mahaba yung post mo. and it benefits a lot of people. Thanks. So we have this, no? We have fears, we have anxieties, and we come to this point because of fears and anxieties. Nagkakaroon tayo ng mga moments na ganito, naka ano lang tayo, what you call that? Ganun, nakamukmuk ba? we're just thinking, we're just worrying, no? And it takes a lot of our time in the evening, no? Because we're worried, we're fearful. No? Sabi din ni Tito Chris, bravery is not the absence of fear, it's mastery of fear. Wow, quotable quotes. Galing, thank you for sharing that. True, no? It's mastery of fear. Kasi nararamdaman pa rin natin yung takot, no? Just like what Mike was saying, no? It keeps us safe, no? That feeling of fear, but we have to also master that fear. We shouldn't be ruled by fear. All right, so sabi ni Tito Chris nga, no? Bravery is not the absence of fear, it's mastery of it. So how do we master our fear? How do we use that emotion in order to make our lives better, in order to make our lives more richer? No? And all right, thanks for those awesome comments. So when we have fears and anxiety, sometimes when it rules us, we are in this situation. Ano tayo? Napaparalyzed tayo. We are paralyzed with fear. We unlike the idea of Mike, where fear can keep us safe, can actually move us into action. There are also this type of fear. There's also this type of fear that paralyzes us because our imaginations. We're trying to think of so many things, of the many ways that we will fail. Hindi ko kaya yan. Hindi ko kaya yung work na yan. Hindi ko kaya to do that, to do this thing. So imagine me having these fears of going live. So what I said, kahit nakakatakot mag-live, sige, I'll do it. Because yun nga, I have to master the fear that I have of making a mistake, of trying to be perfect, of trying to please a lot of people. So when I'm live, I have to master that fear and to and not to allow it to overcome me. Right? So we have these moments, nakamukmuk lang tayo, we're depressed, we're worried, we're sad, and it is caused by these fears and anxieties. Now, what we have to do is, first is we have to trust in God amidst the darkness. Diba? We are in a dark situation, we don't know the future, we don't know the future of our kids, we don't know the future of of the world. We don't know the future of the world. We cannot forecast and project it, but we are in this dark situation. Even trying to find income. We're trying to see where we can get more to be able to sustain our families. We are amidst the darkness. But what should we have? We should have trust in God, and maybe that would be the key word for this live session. Na magtiwala tayo sa Diyos, na we have this God who will never leave us, that will hold our hand amidst the darkness. In fact, God is that feeling that we have that always prods us towards the light. God is the hope in our hearts that prods us towards the light. So we have to continue to become brave amidst the darkness. And we cannot be brave just by ourselves, by our own strength. We can be brave because God is there for us. All right, so sabi din ni Luisa Mayuga, to be brave is to believe that God is enough. Wow, thanks. God is enough. Thank you. Nandiyan ang Diyos na He will provide for us. Thank you for that. Okay? Nag-hi lang si Maricel Lazada. Blessed afternoon. Yoti is sharing that I learned that when I acknowledge my fear of something, it enables me to take action and depend more on God's provision. Okay? So, galing, no? Dapat minsan di natin alam anong kinakatakutan natin. Basta nararamdaman na lang natin. What am I afraid of? Baka lang, we cannot identify where this fear is coming from. For others, yung talagang malalim ang ang source ng fear is it will still go back to childhood, no? Kaya may mga psychologists, psychiatrists who can help us overcome this trauma, these fears, no? So it may come from childhood, no? Parang ano siya. And some of us may deny that fear. Hindi ako takot dyan, pero you're not acknowledging it. So therefore, that fear is not brought into the light. And Yoti is saying to acknowledge that fear, to bring it into the light. Sabi din ni Bia, no, I think she's expounding it. Yes, Kuya, uncertainty sa vocation, we are praying for, and sa will ni Lord for us. As overseas worker, we fear for our absence sa mga family namin. Wow, thank you for sharing that. No? Our aging parents, our siblings, moving on with their lives, and our growing nieces and nephews. At the same time, being in the community, Kuya, allows us to channel this fear to faith. Great, I love that. No? Fear to faith. Faith that the Lord's plan prevails, and of course, hope in His perfect timings, especially for the future. Galing, thanks for expounding your earlier answer. Sabi ni Chris, Tito Chris, via Imperial, everything will pass. We will overcome. Wow, nagkakaroon ng online ministering, online comforting. Thank you guys. Thank you for doing that. Awesome. So we must trust God amidst the darkness. Kasi God, there's one thing that's for sure: God never abandons. He is always there. Even in the most painful times in our lives, we think that God has left us. But God is always there. He is in us. In fact, we are in God and God is in us. And those times of difficulties and moments of trials, God is telling us to be strong, to hold on, na kumapit lang, maging malakas. Kahit na marami tayong mga fears, we have to be brave because God is there. He will always be with us. Siguro, just to review some stories that we see in the Bible, how they have overcome mga patriarchs. I don't know who can guess. Sino kaya to? Sa tingin niyo, comment niyo. Sino yan? Nasa picture. If you're familiar, it's a very common scene in the Bible. So this is Abraham and Isaac, di ba? And it was a most irrational time because God instructed Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, and parang it was very irrational. And but you know the story, right? Abraham still obeyed God. And later on, God said, you have been obedient, do not sacrifice your son, sacrifice the lamb instead, that God actually provided. Suddenly, may lamb doon. And that became the sacrifice instead of Isaac. So, ano siya, my reflection is Abraham, at that time, hindi niya maintindihan ang nangyayari. Pero, ano pa rin, naniwala siya sa Diyos, kumapit siya sa Diyos, God will never lead him to something that will destroy him. So his faith was being tested at that time. All right, so ano bang mga pangyayari sa ating buhay, di ba, na hindi natin naiintindihan, hindi natin masakit na pangyayari, hindi natin naiintindihan. Pero we should not, despite that, the things that we cannot explain, because life is an ongoing mystery, we have to still trust in God, just like the example of Abraham. But see, John was able to guess it, Isaac and Abraham. So did Archie, said Abraham, great faith by Abraham. So another example, another situation, si Moses, di ba? Si Moses, di ka ba matatakot na you're gonna lead millions of people? And what was Moses? Moses actually murdered someone. He fled. He ran away, and he found, in the process, he found Jethro. He got married, and later he got a call from God to have a mission, is to set the Israelites free of slavery, diba? And maybe I don't know who are watching here that are being asked to lead No, we're nakakatakot siya, di ba? To be a leader, to lead a certain group, no? A certain prayer group, or to lead a branch in the office. If you're a manager, you'll be leading people. You know, of course, it's not like the situation of Moses, where Moses led millions of people, but in any way, nakakatakot pa rin when we are called to lead. It's easy for us to just say no, and we say, that's beyond me. I cannot do that. And so did Moses. No, he questioned his capacity to lead, but the secret really to overcoming his fear was that he put his trust in God. And as we all know, he was able to lead people out of slavery through the Exodus. So he was also able to overcome his fear. Okay, so 𝗕𝗏𝗰𝗲𝗲𝗲 is saying, if I fear about the future of my kids, I go back to the message of God in the Lord's Prayer. He will never abandon each one of us. Tama. Thank you for sharing that. Sabi din ni Archie, no? Or it could be against his will, but he obeyed God's will. So, thanks for sharing. Kasi, meron din tayong will, you know? And, pero the best will would be God's will. And how are we guided with the will of God? Of course, we should be attuned to His Word. Kasi doon, no, the truth guides us, and the Word of God guides us. And that's how we uncover His will. Yung direction for us in our lives. All right, so another is si David. Iba naman yung case ni David. Everybody around him, no, yung Israelites, they feared everything. Takot sila lahat kay Goliath, no, and no one dared challenge Goliath. Talo lahat ni Goliath, na takot sila. Everybody was trembling, and it's as if the Israelites are going to be overcome by the Philistines. And suddenly, David said, I'll challenge that heathen. I'll challenge Goliath. And it's like, if he will look like, baliktad yung situation. David was so brave. David was so brave. Why was he brave? Because he had prior experiences of victories. As a shepherd, he was able to overcome bears, mga wolves. He was able to overcome these things. Kaya sabi niya, if God protected me with the wolves and with the bears while looking over my sheep, God will, Goliath is nothing. Parang ganun yung sinasabi niya, di ba? And indeed, he drew strength from God. He had a strategy, and we know how David defeated Goliath by using a slingshot, right? So he was actually very adept at it. He knew his strengths as well. So he did not look at his physicality, na maliit siya, then Goliath was big. But David looked at his strengths and used it to his advantage, and to glorify God with that. So tingnan natin ngayon, no, sa mga, baka we highlight our fears so much, we highlight our weaknesses and our incapacities, that those things overcome our strengths. Magaling ka naman sa mga ibang bagay, no? But parang you're embracing too much of your fears, no? And so like me, I have so many things that I'm not good at, no? I'm not good at communicating. I like this. Parang I stutter sometimes. I have second thoughts, but I try to overcome these things because my love for evangelizing, my love for sharing God's word, my love for motivating people is my slingshot. That love, and somehow that love can overcome the other things that I'm so insecure about. So yes, that's David, no? And like today, si David, no, but unlike today, Goliath is very visible. Si COVID, si COVID against David ngayon. How do you battle? How do you become David against COVID? So right now it's us now. We are the Davids. Our enemy is the COVID, but we can't see. So the solution is really to stay at home, right? So we have to have courage and strength. And of course, this scene may be familiar to you. Peter walking on water because Jesus called him. And ikaw ba naman, tatawagin ka to walk on water? Will you not be afraid? No. So actually, Peter was very obedient and brave. He had a lot of faith in Jesus. But he started to sink when the winds came. No? So natakot siya sa wind. His attention was brought to the wind instead of focusing on Christ. And this is a hint also when we are afraid, when we're anxious, baka hindi si Christ na, maybe Christ is not our focus. Maybe the wind is our focus. And what is that wind in your life? What is that distraction that makes you fearful in what you're doing? So we have this experience in our life that we're called to walk on water. And the Divine Mercy Prayer, diba? Jesus, King of Mercy, I trust in you. I trust in you. So, talaga siya. If you're afraid, if you're fearful, if you don't know where to go and how to move forward, you cannot recall any other prayer but this prayer, sabihin niyo lang, Jesus, King of Mercy, I trust in you. Jesus, King of Mercy, I trust in you. And I'm sure our fears will be subsided, and we become more brave in how to go about in our lives. All right. So, sabi ni Ana, yan po ang gift sa inyo ni Lord, yung maging messenger niya. Okay, thanks Ana for that affirmation. Yung gift mo, Ana, you're a very good affirmer. You're a good encourager. Thank you, thank you. So sabi naman ni Archie, we praise and worship God the same way David does, singing, dancing, and hands raised. Thanks Archie. Tama kasi David wrote a lot of the Psalms. Diba? So for me right now, my main business is conducting trainings for companies. Diba? But because of that lockdown, talaga siya, na-cancel yung trainings ko in speaking engagements. And when they announced the lockdown, talagang fear started to creep in. No? Very natural, very human. Natakot din ako kasi, of course, how will I be able to cope with it? And nakita ko, the opportunity came also by having these Fired Up Coffee sessions. Diba? I'm able to evangelize. I'm able to reach out to people more, to motivate people by having coffee, by hanging out, right? So something was born out of this fear. There's a light, there's a purpose behind this fear, and it gave me the courage to do this. Kasi 4 years ko nang pinag-iisipan to, or maybe 3 years to go live, but finally I was able to have the courage to do this. So what can we do? How can we become messengers of hope instead of just hiding? Diba? When were the apostles so afraid? It was when Jesus died, and the Christians were being persecuted. They pinaghanap sila, and they were in the upper room, diba? But when the Holy Spirit came into their lives, naging fearless sila, diba? Peter suddenly spoke, and 3,000 people got converted to Christianity. So in other words, in a time of fear, in a time of anxiety, we can become messengers of hope, especially in this time. Kahit nasa bahay lang tayo, diba? So we've been becoming messengers of hope. No? 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗧 is expounding her answer earlier. Sabi niya, a lot of parents are experiencing the fear of letting their children go back to school. Considering our experiences of this pandemic, even if we go back to normal, we still fear the safety of our kids. Very true. I have 4 kids, so I get you, 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗧. Maybe it is good to look into the possibility or exploring the journey of homeschooling your kids. Homeschooling our kids for 4 years now, the same, no? Thank you for sharing that, 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗧. I'm also homeschooling my kids. No? 4 din sila. So we've been doing it for 2 years. So it's like kind of normal for us to do this. But 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗧 is like saying, try homeschooling your kids. Thanks for that insight, 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝗧. Great. So how do we become messengers of hope? No? Kasi we are called to be brave. Just like Abraham was called to be brave. Moses was called to be brave. Peter was called to be brave. Diba? David was called to be brave. And it is really our calling to be brave. But allow me to share with you some ideas that I have and I put some meaning to the word brave, na B-R-A-V-E. All right, so allow me to move forward and share that with you. Why do we have to be brave, diba? Because in Matthew 5:14-16, it says, "You are the light of the world. You're light of the world. A city set on the mountain cannot be hidden." So, being brave is to become that light amidst the darkness. Ikaw yung may hawak ng torch. Nor do they light a lamp and then put it under a bushel basket. It is set on a lampstand where it gives light to all in the house, di ba? Kasi bushel basket, ngayon, nasa bahay tayo. So imagine, when I'm thinking of bushel basket, it's like where we are right now at home. We are hidden. Pwede tayong magtago lang. But our calling is to be a light on a lampstand. I'll continue reading it. "Just so your light must shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your heavenly Father." So, ganun. We draw our courage and strength because we're called to become light. No? So we overcome our fears and anxieties, and at the same time, we become brave. After overcoming, then what are you gonna do? What do brave people do? So we'll answer that in this talk or in this sharing. So letter B, B-R-A-V-E. Ganun lang, no? First, we have to overcome our fears and anxieties by striving to be better. So hindi pwedeng paralyzed tayo. But we go for self-improvement. We go for things that will make us a better person. So in this quarantine period, ilang months na ba? Can you comment there? How many days have we been in quarantine? Or if you are in the Middle East or anywhere in the world, how many days are you now staying at home, di ba? And we ask ourselves, for the Philippines, at least we have 2 weeks more and a couple of days. What is that one thing that can help us become a better person? So one of the things that we need to become better is to read more books. You become better with our health. We become better in our attitude, in our relationships. So we strive to have self-improvement in this time of uncertainty, di ba? Di mo alam yung future, di pwedeng paralyzed and idle. We have to think, how can I improve myself at this time that I've lost my job, or working from home, or waiting for an opportunity. No, so it is not a time to fear. It shouldn't dominate us to the point that we degrade ourselves, or we pull back. But it can be a time where we can enhance ourselves. So we look to becoming better. Sabi ni Ana, going 45 days na ang quarantine. Nag-enroll po ako, one online course. Thank you. So we become better. Then overcome your fears and anxieties by striving to be relevant. Hindi naman pwede natin pakialam sa mundo. How can we be relevant? How can we help others? Like for me, I have very limited skills, but the way that I can be relevant is to do what I've been doing in my work, which is giving talks, which is sharing hope and inspiration to people. Like when I go to companies, I give sessions, I give team buildings, I give all these things, right? And sabi ko, I can't do that during this quarantine. So how can I be relevant at this time? So sabi ko, I'll do this. I'll do my live show. So for others, talagang they go out of their way. They prepare food for the poor. And I have some friends that I know that are actually going out and feeding the poor. They have this pass and they collect food. Some are making PPE gears. Iba, di ba? But when we are in a moment of fear and anxiety, whatever it is, if we fear for our children, how can we find relevant ways to address the issue, to address our anxieties? Yung relevance is something that can solve a problem, diba? So we have to be concerned at this time. It is not a time that wala tayong pakialam. We have to be relevant. So that's how we can overcome our fears. Try to find your relevance at this time. Okay, next is letter A, active. This is another way to overcome your fear. look for ways to become productive. Don't be passive, be active, and keep yourself busy. Kasi sabi nga, there's like a cliche or quote, idleness is the devil's workshop. I don't know if you've heard of that, but I've heard my parents say that. If you're idle, para siya, it can be an opportunity for the devil to give you ideas na magkasala. Di ba? So don't be idle, be active, be productive, find ways to become busy. Maybe you can share the comments. How are you becoming active? What are your activities? What have you been active on this time of quarantine and ECQ? Ano yung mga activities nyo? So that's how we dissipate the fear and anxiety. Don't find yourself to be idle. Next is V of viral. Of course, don't spread the illness, don't spread the disease, don't spread the virus. But viral means it is also a time where we can make the most difference online. Diba? It's so easy. Anybody can start, number one, anybody can start a Facebook page. Anybody can tweet something positive. Anybody can do a video just sharing what you're doing. If you have an idea and you just share that video to your friends, to the public. Now you can make viral messages, or if you can't create content, then share content that is very helpful. I'm sure you've been scrolling, right? And maybe you found an online mask, then you share. Maybe if this has helped you in any way, this Fired Up Coffee Sessions, then maybe you can share it. Then you can help it go viral. Okay, call to action. Okay, so go try to spread. Don't spread the virus, but spread the good news. Wow, nag-rhyme ba? Okay, don't spread the virus, but spread the good news. And then this is what has always been the posture of the apostles before, di ba? Although they didn't use the word viral when they were evangelizing, parang naisip nila, how can we make the news of Easter or resurrection? How can we make resurrection go viral? So that's what I did. In their own capacities before. So they went to St. Paul, went to all these missions all over the surrounding islands, the surrounding areas, until they were able to actually go to Rome, right? So in their own lifetime, they were able to make the good news viral. Now, 2,000 years later, tayo naman, walang internet dati, ngayon may internet na. So, wow, this is like the best time to spread the good news. Some can directly talk about evangelizing, but some, the good works, the good deeds. We want to highlight good news, because the default really, because bad news sells, diba? When there's bad news, people are alarmed, they watch the news, and they want to find out more about it because it is alarming. But we can also counter that with a lot of good news. Pansin nyo, there's like those who got sick, ito yung mas pronounced, diba? But those who got well, ang konti lang nang naririnig natin tungkol doon, diba? So think about good news that you can share, so that you can help dissipate the fears and anxieties of other people as well. And as you serve in that way, you also dissipate your own anxieties and fears. So currently, I'm leading a group. I don't know if you've heard of it, Passion Builders. So yung Passion Builders, these are people who are passionate about something, and they want to grow their passion into a high impact advocacy or a passion business, diba? So I meet every month. In fact, every Thursday night, 9 p.m., naglalabas din ako ng passion building show. Now, I call it Passion Builders Geek Out Session. And what do we talk about there? We talk about the constant struggle and striving to become viral, to spread good news. So that's how we go about. So try to create online messages so that you become that messenger of hope in this new era, in this new day and age. Okay, go viral. Next is letter E. Last is engaging. we have to find ways to become engaging. So some people need to be engaged with. Try to contact your relative or your high school friends. Just say hi to them. Maybe your college friends. Engage with them and minister. Diba? So that's how we also overcome our fears and anxieties, when we're able to talk to somebody about what we have inside. Kasi don't try to bottle it up. Talk to your spouse, talk to your community leader, whoever, right? Talk to someone, reach out to someone. If you're the one having that fear, engaging with somebody, talking with somebody can dissipate that. And perhaps just by talking, and that talk rebounds to you, you can find solutions. You can find solutions in these things. So who do you want to engage with? Who do you want to minister with? To minister to. So there are two types, no? You're the one having fear, or you're the one helping people becoming brave. Either way, it helps you become brave, even if you have that fear when you start to serve people. So you want to engage. So that's the last E that I could suggest to be brave. So we are brave because our God is strong and faithful. Yun. Hindi ba dahil magaling tayo? It's because our God is strong and faithful. We are brave because there are those who depend on us. Diba? Para sa kanila dito. No? They need us to be brave. Okay. In some instances, we cannot afford to be consumed by fear because there are people depending on us. And we are brave because we are not defined by our fears. Diba? What if at the end of your life, you were defined by the things that you did not do? Right? So we want to overcome that. We want to become brave and live our lives to the fullest. Not live our lives hiding our talents, hiding our potentials, but living our lives really going out there, defining ourselves by being courageous, by making the most out of life, living life to the fullest, not living life with fear. All right, so maybe you have now some ideas on what your greatest fears are and how you are trying to overcome them. Just add in the comments kasi mas marami nang marating ngayon. No? All right, so Psalm 9 verse 10, it says, "The Lord is a stronghold for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble." So if you feel that you're in trouble, ano lang, kapit lang, stronghold, di ba? One of the things that inspired us in Couples for Christ, for those who are part of CFC, and for those who are not part, this is what will have been inspiring us lately. No? There's like this phrase that we got from one of the sessions. Sabi dun, kapit na kahit, kapit lang kahit na, di ba? Kapit lang kahit na. So, kumapit ka lang kahit na mahirap. Kapit lang sa Diyos na kahit na naghihirap sa buhay. Because kapit, no, if you look at it, if you interpret it somehow, stronghold, no? God is our stronghold. Kapit lang. Na. Psalm 46 verse 2 also says, "God is our refuge and our strength, an ever-present help in distress." Distressed ka ba? This is the effect of anxiety and fear and uncertainty. We are in distress. And tapos takbo tayo kay Lord. No? We go to the Lord because He is our refuge and our strength. Okay, so maybe just to conclude, maybe you can share about what you can do to be brave. About pick one. Maybe you can share about that. Better, relevant, active, viral, engaging. Share about what you can do to be brave. Try to share about, try to comment about some isa doon. So shout out from CFC Seoul, Qatar. God bless. Kenneth is also saying, being a failure and disappointment to both others and myself, especially sa mga services sa community, but it made me realize that God doesn't call the qualified, for He qualifies the called. Kaya ka-faith lang. Ka-faith lang. Okay, and be courageous. Awesome. Ka-faith lang, mga friends. Ka-faith lang, mga ka-fired up. Diba? Alright, so ka-faith lang daw. Ka-faith lang kahit na. So kapit lang kahit na. Ka-faith lang. Just take to emphasize that. Thanks for that, Kenneth, na napatawa mo ako, no? But at the same time, your wisdom is really good. Thanks for sharing that. Awesome. So for your reflection, pick one. Maybe it's too overwhelming to do the B, R, A, V, and E, but try to pick one where you can act. No? So do you want to become better? Do you want to become more engaging? Now, try to comment it below. Which of the 5 do you want to work on? Pili lang. Then just type it as I move forward with this. So awesome. Now just share about what you can do to be brave. Okay, so for those who haven't enrolled yet in the Fired Up Mindset course, gusto ko lang i-promote that I am offering this for free for a limited time. So just go to firedupcourses.com/firedupmindset. And marami na po nag-enroll. Thank you for those who have enrolled. There are actually 6 videos there. Talagang 6 videos. It's like a full course. And it's actually part of a bigger course, my Fired Up Life Blueprint course. So I'm giving that for free for a limited time. Try to enroll in it. firedupcourses.com/firedupmindset. And also, thank you for the sponsors of this show. For those who are patrons, no, nakakatuwa kasi you're helping me sustain the show, and this show wouldn't be possible without the Fired Up patrons. So I'd just like to thank them, the patrons, di ba? Ano siya? These are the Brother Ron, Brother Leo, Burns, well, Toots and Daisy. So salamat sa inyo for being a patron. So guys, be a patron also and help me sustain this show because we need some resources to also put up this show. Thank you very much. Another way you can help me is to buy me a coffee. Okay, to buy me a coffee. Bilang mo ako ng kape, just go to buymeacoffee.com/𝗕𝗏𝗂𝗂𝗏. At ito yung mga bumili ng kape yesterday. Thank you, John Alcantara and Michael Xiaotong. Thanks for buying me a coffee. And by doing that, you're helping sustain the show and make the show reach more people. All right, because I also use the funds to enhance the show. Awesome. So guys, I pray that you've been able to benefit something. If nagustuhan nyo yung session ngayon, comment naman nyo, if whatever feedback that you have, if what's the one thing you liked about today's session, let me know. Just add in the comments below. Let me know that one thing. Okay, in the meantime, bumabati dito, magandang morning from Doha, Qatar. Stay safe, no? So, ito pala, kanina pa pala yun, no? Anna is saying, active, sa 5 bagay na sinuggest ko. Anna is contemplating or expounding more on active. Instead of worrying what to do, you have to start the actual doing, like projects, hobby, and etc. Okay, Archie, thank you for affirming. We love this session. Salamat. I love doing this session also because it helps me to also process myself, to also reflect on my own life as I serve you. All right, thank you guys. Salamat sa inyo. No? May nakikita ako, marami palang nanonood, pero di lang nagko-comment. Banggitin ko sa mga ilan sa kanila. Sheila Martinez watching, Danny Pantaleon, Liberty, Nasol, Liza Pai, John Mar, Braganza, Nat, Necesito, Ferly de las Alas, Leona Moleno, Fernando, Halig, Noel So, Candida Flores, Glo Villanueva, Rowena Parenya Reyes, Butch Soriano's watching. My good friend Butch, Tito Butch. Weng's watching and Lay. So marami, share. Bertulfo is watching. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. And oh man, bilis ng oras, ang bilis ng panahon. And I pray that you'll be back here tomorrow. Tell your friends that there's gonna be a 3 o'clock session with me live. All right. So bye for now. Thanks for supporting this show. Thanks for watching this show. May God bless you always. See ya. Keep being fired up. Keep building your passion.